Hello everyone, and welcome back to my ARK Hardcore playthrough, where we are playing through the island on Hardcore. Today we are working on a major building project. With us taming the Rex and the Argentavis on the last episode, I figured that it was time to build an incubation chamber, basically. This is where we are going to be hatching our eggs and mostly raising our dinos. So this is going to be a little bit of a larger building than we've built before, because we need something that can actually handle a few growing Rexes, because Rexes are going to be probably the main creatures that we use for two of the boss fights. So Rexes are going to be very important for us to breed up. So I am going to go ahead and just get all of these foundations placed, and then we're slowly going to be building throughout the episode. This isn't going to be much of an episode outside of building and hatching eggs. So for the most part, I'm honestly not even going to have a whole lot to say, aside from certain building techniques here and there. So you can see how close we are to the ground, how level we are with it, and that's not normal. In normal ARK, you can't do that, mostly because you get what's referred to as ground clipping. So in the corners, we're actually clipped under the ground, and again, you can't do that in normal ARK. So this is part of that selection that I made at the very beginning, where I was like, we are going to disable ground clipping or enable ground clipping, whatever it is. And that's so we can get more level building throughout the terrain. So you can see there that the wall just clips right into the ground, attaching to the foundation. And that's why we did it, is to get just a much better building experience out of this whole thing. So you'll notice I'm going to leave a 2-wall gap, and that's for our dino gateways. And then I'm just going to do this wall here. And as I'm kind of scoping the area out, I'm figuring out where I want to put all of my doors, maybe windows, stuff like that. And I realized that I did not leave an area for some small doors to get in on this side. So before they set, I pick up that wall and that wall. And now I'm going to go ahead and place down 2 double doorways. And then build up the walls above them. My original thought for this wall over here outlooking the river was to put greenhouse walls, so that way it looked more like a window, a bay window. But ultimately I did decide against that and just put regular walls up. And if I decide to do a second floor on this building, I can do the greenhouse walls at that point. Again, leaving a 2-wide gap for a dino gateway. And now here we're putting the ceilings on. And I'm trying to put the ceilings all on the same way so that there are no gaps. And now that the ceilings are in place, I can put the dino gateways in place. And this is one of my tricks to getting the dino gateways in somewhat straight, is I line it up with the edge of the foundations and I just use my A and D keys and walk back and forth and make sure that I'm not moving at an angle. And then I find where it snaps up onto the foundation itself. So you can see where it dips down and dips back up. And there we go. And then I make sure that there are no gaps. I do the same thing on this other side. And I got a dino leash. That's what it's called. Yes, I got a dino leash out of one of the Christmas drops. So I'm using that here to make sure that all these animals are safely or are not going to just run off the edge. And checking the perimeter. So now any creatures that are inside of this ring that have the lock by that heart, or that have the lock above their name, unless they are being ridden by a player, they cannot exit that ring. So if something were to come up and attack them, they would be able to defend themselves, but they can't just run off trying to attack something. In the last episode, I talked about how much thatch you can gather with a mammoth by using the left click ability versus the spacebar ability. And that's what I'm doing here. Is I ran out of thatch, but I have plenty of wood and I still have plenty of stone for building. So I decided to go on a bit of a thatch run. And you can see how much thatch and how many berries I've been able to collect. And now we need a bit more stone. So now that I've got those supplies collected, I can continue building these walls. And now that the walls are complete, I need my platform for hatching the eggs. Now this is a very important structure. And the way we designed the structure holds, with current ARK, you don't necessarily need to build these this way anymore. You mostly just need to build incubators from Genesis 2. But because I haven't gone to Genesis 2 yet on this character, we don't have those learned. So for now we're going to do this the old-fashioned way. I have been considering taking this character to Genesis 2 and actually going through the process of trying to gather some of these engrams that I need, because it would make things easier. Now on Genesis 2, I believe that on single player mode I would also be able to have access to level 150 dinos. And if that's the case, that's also an impressive boon to what we need going forward. So I might do that. I'm still not sure. I don't know if I want to make this a true, a true and blue the island playthrough, or if I just want to have fun and get it done quick and start using the other maps to get through it all. So I haven't made that decision yet. If you guys have any recommendations, I would be more than happy to listen to them and take them into consideration. But I think that this series is moving at a pretty decent pace. I mean, it's not one and done. I mean, it's not like watching an Apex video or anything like that, but it's also not... I feel like it's moving a little bit quicker than a Nooblets video. But Nooblets is also very educational and taught me a lot of how to play this game, so... So I'm not trying to emulate Nooblets or, Apex, but, so it's not quite as fast-paced as Apex, not quite as slow-paced as Nooblets. So I think we're moving at a decent pace, so I'm pretty happy with the way things are. But if there are things that would help get us into the bosses faster, I am definitely willing to entertain those. So I went ahead and placed down these air conditioners, and what these air conditioners actually do is they don't just provide cold, they also provide heat. It's just insulation. And once I get the power ran, I'll be able to show you what kind of what the insulation actually does and how much it produces. So we just placed down 10 of those air conditioners. And the reason that we did so many of them is the more you have, the easier it is to hatch some eggs. So Rex eggs, and I believe Deuteranus eggs are going to be the hardest ones that we have to hatch. So with that, I mean, you've got to have more you got to have more air conditioners to make sure that you're capable of hatching them. But the hardest ones to hatch are wyverns and, well, drakes, rock drakes. Rock drakes require a lot to hatch. And on the Valguero map, you've got the Deinonychus, and those also take some pretty extreme temperatures too. So those are the ones where it really helps to have... Oh, and a Gigantosaurus. Can't forget the Giga. So those are the ones where it really helps to have the incubators. But like I said, I mean, this is the old way of doing it with air conditioners just lined up or in a pile. And what you can do is you can actually just drop the eggs on the platform above, and they will be incubated and hatch in a certain amount of time. So now right here you can see that I'm making actually a really big mistake when it comes down to running the power lines. What I'm doing right now is I'm building from the source and I'm building toward the destination, instead of starting at the destination and building toward the source. And this is about the point that I realize what I'm doing, and I'm like, oh, yeah, I probably shouldn't be doing it this way. I probably should be starting over there and then building out here. So it does look pretty ugly, not gonna lie about it. And for whatever reason I pick up the one but not the other, and that's okay. No matter what I do out here though, it's gonna look ugly. There's no way to hide these lines. So I'm basically just gonna have to do my best from inside of here. And as with everything, I do my best to make sure that it's straight, that I'm not having to make any adjustments, and that it's not going to end up being ugly. So I find a spot in the floor where I can actually test to make sure that I'm keeping this thing straight, and you can see that it's running right along the edge of the foundations, so it's pretty much as straight as it's going to get. And then I try to find a good position where I think it's going to match up on the inside. And then I place it against the wall and I put it in place. And now because I don't need cross sections, I just need straights, I can just use my straights and hope that they're placing that they're snapping in place. And now I'm going to put my electrical boxes down, and I'm checking the position to see how many I can get attached to this. I don't like that, so I just, instead of putting one in the center, I put one on each side and let them all attach to it, and let them all attach that way. Now with the inside portion ready, I get back out to the outside portion. Oh, never mind. With the inside portion ready, I get my stairs back in place. So I place this wall first because when you're not running, when you're running without with the clipping disabled, you have to place that wall first, and then you can place the stairs on top of it. You can't do it the opposite way around. Now luckily, because I have that clipping enabled, I will be replacing this wall so that way the wood is on the inside and not the outside, just for continuity's sake. So now we're back outside and we are putting in the power line coming from the destination and heading toward the source. Like I said, there's really nothing I can do to get this to look good, so I'm just kind of doing it. And this is where the flexible cable comes in really handy, is you've got this awkward spot where you know it wouldn't match up. I mean, you can clearly see it, but you'll be able to actually connect it with that. And everything turned yellow and the power is on. And if you look at how much hypothermic and hyperthermic insulation we have, it's quite a bit. So it gives both kinds of It gives both kinds of insulation. And not only do you feel it down there, but if you go up top, you feel it up there too. And you can see that the Rex egg is incubating and the Argentavis egg is incubating, and I decided to go get a second Argentavis egg since the female is off cooldown. And then I get that one hatching too. And while those are incubating, I finish the building. Now if you're playing on a public server, always finish your building first. Even if you're on a PvE server, if you've got eggs just hanging out like that, people can actually come up and steal them. There is nothing that stops people from picking up anything that is dropped. So please do yourself a favor, and if you're on a public server, PvP or PvE, finish your building first and then drop your eggs. And the same thing goes with breeding. Don't breed your dinos out in the open. Always breed your dinos inside and closed, so nobody can just sneak in and steal the eggs as soon as they drop. I've seen it happen. I've seen it happen on a PvE server, and there's nothing you can do about it, and there's nothing that Wildcards devs want to do about it. So we've got a light in here. I was going to do 2 lights. I thought it would need it, but this happened to match up perfectly, and you can run right over it. So it doesn't even stop you from moving. It doesn't stop the babies from moving. They walk right over it, so I'm pretty happy with that. And now these Argentavis eggs are about to hatch. And you never know the gender of a baby until you claim it. So this one, it got the stamina from the mother, but it didn't really get any of the other attributes. It just got the stamina. So it is level 129, but it's really not a good bird in comparison to the other two. Now, you know, the argument could be made that we could imprint it and all that, but ultimately I decided that it was not worth keeping. So if you've never done this, you never actually unclaim your animals when you're going to dispose of them. And the reason for that is once they're unclaimed, you can't kill them. But as soon as you claim it, one hit, it's dead, and then you harvest it. And look at all that raw prime meat that we get from that. Is it horrific? Absolutely. But it is necessary in order to keep yourself from having overfull cryo fridges. So here we have another baby. This one is level 127, so it's lower level than the one that we just killed. But if we look at its stats, it has the health, it has the weight, and it has the melee damage of the mother. So it does not have the stamina, but it has 3 of the other important stats. So because this has 3 out of the 6 stats are the good stats from the mom, all we gotta do is get another one that has the stamina, and then we're set. So we are gonna keep this one. It is male, so we'll be able to breed this one with the female once it grows up and once the female is off cooldown. So our Rex is hatched, and this one did not get the health, but it is a female. So it didn't get the health, but it did get the melee damage. With your boss Rexes, the things that matter are the health and the melee damage. Stamina doesn't matter, weight doesn't matter, it's just health and melee damage. Because they need to be able to soak a ton of damage, and they need to be able to deal a ton of damage. So we are going to keep this one because it's female. We can still use it to lay eggs, and our male is the one that has the good stats. So we do want to get a female that has that 7,000 health that the male has, and the melee that the male has. So we are going to keep this. We're going to raise it, but we're going to make sure that it is just a breeder. This is not one that's ever going to go into a boss fight. We're never going to take it caving. It is literally just it is there to lay eggs for us. So yeah, I heard not Sarco claws. Oh my goodness. I heard raptor claws do the ho 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 and realized that it flew right over the base. So I am gonna go collect those real quick. But I'm gonna make sure that the baby Rex can at least hold a couple of stacks of meat, and that the baby Argentavis is topped off. So yeah, honestly, we're doing pretty well today. This is the end of the episode, so thank you so much for hanging out. It's a little less action-packed, but we got a lot done. And next episode, we have another large building project that we're going to start, and hopefully, and we'll get these babies raised up in the next episode. So, hopefully, over the next couple of episodes, we get to do some caving and go get some artifacts. So thanks again for hanging out. You guys take care, and I'll see you in the next episode.